The game ended on Saturday.
Yesterday.
Right.
Yes.
So it wasn't from the locker room, wasn't immediately after the game. He did take 24 hours or so to process it. I don't know if that changes anyone's opinion, but I just want to point that out.
48 hours for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
It needs to be at least 48.
I didn't realize that. I'm glad because, it got my ear. That was a clarification that he did it yesterday, hours after the game. Well, some people might think that's even worse. I don't, but some people might think that's even worse. In the end, what it comes down to is this. Did y'all know during the regular season that the Boston Celtics were dead last? They ranked dead last in free throw attempts. Dead last. And out of the 16 playoff teams this year, they ranked 14th in free throw attempts. Come on, man. Come on. The fact is that you're down to damn near 20. You pull within one. And all y'all did was launch three-pointers. And I understand that from a Peyton Pritchard. I understand that from some of these other dudes who are clearly out there to defend, rebound, and shoot when open and absolutely nothing else because they don't have that skill set. But that ain't Jaylen Brown's issue. This is an all-world player who is one of the most brilliant people, not just brilliant basketball player, one of the most brilliant people you'll ever find, smart as hell. Okay? How the hell you go out on that basketball court and all you doing when it counts most is a one-point game is launching three-point shots? How do you do that if you Jaylen Brown? You know better than that. And he did not attack the basket. He didn't do what he was supposed to do when it really, really counted. And by the way, you're not sharing the wealth with Jason Tatum. It's yours. It's right there for the taking. You understand? With the Knicks flopping last year when they took y'all out in 6, okay, they go up 3-1. Jason Tatum tears his Achilles near the end of the game. Game 5 in Boston, you blow the Knicks out of the building. Game 6, they come to the Garden and they blow you out. Okay, so you got not one but 2 opportunities as a $300 million player, as an all-world player, as an MVP candidate to take the bull by the horn. And if you were good enough to get him there, you were good enough to close the deal, especially against a Philadelphia 76ers team that you were up 3-1 on, even with Embiid, still not healthy, giving it to y'all. Bottom line is you had 3 chances to win 1 game. And you couldn't do it. You do not go home the next day and stream a show talking about he flops. That can't happen because now that's what everybody remembers. And that's a shame because ultimately it's going to highlight the fact that Jaylen Brown didn't get it done when we all believed he could.
You know what? I'm torn. All the things that you just said are correct. The one thing I would push back on you against is I think it's been one hell of a year for the Celtics. And I'm not up here saying that, hey, look, you blow a 3-1 lead, you got to close that one out, right? But also, I think there were a lot of things that sometimes happen when you overachieve at this level. Number one, the style of basketball they were playing while they were overachieving was pace and space and create a lot of frenzies, right, with scenarios and matchups. They changed their style when Jason Tatum came back. And then Joe Mazzulla is probably one of the top 3 coaches in the league, Stephen A., in my opinion. He's absolutely genius. I think he outsmarted himself with that starting lineup. Luka Garza allows Joel Embiid to play in drop coverage and sit in the paint and conserve all of his energy. If you actually were to go back to the way the Boston Celtics originally played, if it was Cater and keeping him out on the perimeter or keeping him moving around, that's what the Knicks have to do. That would have been to their advantage. So it felt like at that moment, Joe Mazzulla outsmarted himself with the lineup change and the style of basketball that changed for the 3rd time, multiple times throughout the course of the season. But also, when you think about Jaylen Brown in that situation as a leader in that moment, like, he just needs to not say that. Like, I almost felt like he was an apologist, and I'm not used to seeing Jaylen Brown be an apologist for anything that has happened throughout the course of the season.
Well, let me agitate you with the truth.
As you normally do.
By bringing something else, as I normally do. I don't disagree with anything that you just said. I want to keep in mind, this is not a Jaylen Brown that folded in a Game 7. He dropped 33 he dropped 33 Saturday night, okay? He averaged 28.7 a game during the regular season. He was a top 5 candidate for league MVP honors. The brother is all world. We know what Jaylen Brown brings to the table. But he also brought up, and he made this stream, he streamed this show to essentially highlight how he's being officiated differently. He pointed out to a Jaylen Brown and a Jalen Brunson rather, and a Paul George, and doing similar things and getting favorable treatment from the officiating compared to himself. He's not lying. He's telling the truth. He does get officiated differently sometimes. He isn't treated fairly, in my opinion, by the officials. You and I both know this, Jay. Here's where the agitation towards you kick in. There was somebody that came on national TV a couple of years ago and highlighted how he's not particularly liked. He's loved by me, you, and others, but he's not particularly liked. We talked about the absence of a sneaker deal. We talked about the absence of endorsement deals. We talked about an all-world player who's been in like 7 conference finals now, who's been to 2 NBA finals, who's an NBA champion and an NBA Finals MVP, who, by the way, humbled Luka, by the way, because this brother, Luka had to contend with him during the finals and stuff like that a couple of years ago. We pointed out all of these things, Jay. There were things that was pointed out. And you know who that person is because you're looking at him. And there was a whole bunch of noise that came my way when I said, yo, it's not fair, it's not right, but this is his reality. You understand? Because of his brilliance, because he doesn't tolerate fools, because he doesn't quote unquote play that game or whatever. There are people, connected to directly or indirectly to Madison Avenue in the world of the NBA that would be quick to articulate that he's not the most liked dude to deal with. And when I pointed that out, I got raked through the coals. Okay? Now, and he even came in, even though we sat down, had a nice interview talking about it the whole bit. Yep. He even had on the shirt, reveal your source, reveal your source. Do I need to reveal my source now? Or is it clearly obvious, you understand, that this great player for the Boston Celtics is damn near treated, is basically saying he's treated like a second-class citizen. I wonder where he heard that before. See, these are the kind of things that I want to say, and I want to point this out and close by saying this, Shay and Jay, as I've said recently on digital, there are influencers and then there are journalists. And what happens is that you get this intel and you get this information and people want to attack the source. And Jay, one of the hardest things that I had to deal with coming up in this industry, writing as a beat writer and an NBA writer, before becoming a columnist, before getting really into television, is that you reveal stuff sometimes it's months in advance, sometimes it's years in advance. And people are going ballistic, losing their damn mind, having a conniption. All of this noise. And then you're proven to be right, and it's crickets. This is one of those moments. I said it 2 years ago. I'm saying it now. We know what an all-world player he is. We know he deserves better. We also know he doesn't get better. On the court or off the court. Here's your evidence.
Well, S.A., just to that point, that's why I said earlier, I thought there's still so much of room for growth for him as a leader. That's the scary part. But it takes a level of awareness for him to understand that the petty LaBelle in him from before that made him an NBA champion, that made him a finals MVP, it's time for him to get to that next iteration of himself as a leader of a team.
Yeah.
All right, let's leave this here. We'll talk more about the 76ers a little bit later on. As for the Celtics, yes, they are now at home. They went 60 for 180 on open threes in